having the production team being tongue-in-cheek about leaks, not batting an eye that, for instance, the double master episode at the end of season 10 was completely spoiled for everyone, that's like a normal thing to happen. Like, that's obviously a tragedy. It can really impact the ratings and the revenue of the episode, but it can also spoil the raw experience of the fans.
If someone told me that I had lost all my memories, I would be putting on Doctor Who from season 1 if I could do that.
Welcome to a little mini episode of the Impossible podcast.
We're coming live to you from the Impossible Planet on the space station, currently falling into a black hole.
My name is Clara.
My name is Angela.
And today we wanted to discuss sort of a tangential point that isn't really related to any specific episode of the new show, but more so a phenomena in the fandom.
Yes, so we have a kind of controversial take on the Doctor Who leaks, and this is very personal to us still, but I think it would be good for us to explain like our approach to leaks and why it's okay to not look at the leaks coming out, because we don't really engage with them, and you don't have to do what we do, but we're gonna explain why.
So we've noticed now that we are podcasting within this genre of Doctor Who and also checking out other people doing the same thing, that most of the content of like smaller-ish YouTubers who speak about Doctor Who is about leaks and about the week leading up to an episode, talking about what's going to be in it, what spoilers already exist, and trying to theorize. We decided quite early on that we weren't going to participate in that, and that the thing we like about a new Doctor Who episode is being completely oblivious and being shocked and everything being new. We kind of wanted to talk about why you probably won't see us doing that, because I mean, me personally, I'm a purist. I don't even watch the trailers. I don't even look at the episode titles. The only time I get a preview for the next episode is at the end of each episode. And the reason I do it that way is because it significantly enhances the experience, and it also kind of allows me to take in the episode as one artistic product rather than a series of leaks leading up to the final episode. However, I feel like the Doctor Who production is kind of leaning into the fact that a lot of stuff is being leaked, and I think that's very problematic for the longevity of the show.
And I think it's a good thing to say that we've arrived at this point individually. I don't do the avoiding the trailers at all costs. If there is any trailer out, if it happens to find me during the week leading up to it, I will probably watch it like once. But I also feel like it ruins the experience for me if I build up this hype. I know like some things going into it, because my brain starts creating this like, oh, maybe it contains this, and then whenever the episode actually comes out, I get a bit disappointed, and then I forget to appreciate the things that was actually in the episode. I think also for the two of us who are pretty similar in that way, we arrived at the same point through different experiences with leaks and spoilers, and in general, if someone has watched the new episode, we like announce that I haven't seen it, don't tell me anything, I'll be putting it on tonight.
We don't even want to hear each other's opinions.
Yeah, and especially with this most recent Doctor Who episode, I'm really glad that I didn't engage with the spoilers, and it was see it through fresh eyes and get to have that experience of maybe I can figure it out and put the pieces together myself. It brings more fun, and it also sets me up for less disappointments.
We're filming this right after the episode named The Well, so you should check out our full episode on that one, which we will link it somewhere. So but the reason this made us start thinking was because we really liked this episode, and it was one of those moments where the plot twists and the reveals were really impactful, and we just loved that experience, and we felt like had we seen a single leak beforehand, that experience would have been significantly diminished. I think it spoils the viewer experience, because seeing something fresh with new eyes and having that raw emotional experience, but having that disconnected from the actual episode, I think it ruins the way it sticks in your mind. Like, one of the reasons we remember early Doctor Who episodes so well is that you had that magic, you had that like first rewatch emotion that kind of sticks with you. And I think watching the episodes through a series of leaks before you even see the final product. It not only spoils stuff and makes it less fun, it also takes away that je ne sais quoi of the first experience.
I think trailers and spoilers in general, of like maybe you get some input from a friend that wants you to watch a show, that information is more of a tool to get you interested in watching the show. And for us, like, we're already interested in watching Doctor Who, like we don't need further convincing. So I feel like trailers and leaks to that extent isn't for us. It's more for people who maybe are on the fence about watching it, or for people who wants to have opinions before it becomes relevant.
I think the problem I have with leaks, and why I think the production team should work harder to avoid them, is that it can actually impact ratings and revenue, because less people are actually going to tune into the episode. And I also really dislike the fandom culture of, like, if you're not cued in to the goings on and the episode and all the leaks beforehand, then you're not a real fan. That there's almost this air of validity. It almost makes you more valid as a fan if you are reading the Doctor Who magazine and seeing all the spoilers ahead of time and discussing things ahead of time, theorizing ahead of time, instead of actually experiencing it in the way it was intended. And I think having the production team being tongue-in-cheek about leaks and not batting an eye that, for instance, the double master episode at the end of season 10 was completely spoiled for everyone, that's like a normal thing to happen. Like, that's obviously a tragedy, can really impact the ratings and the revenue of the episode, but it can also spoil the raw experience of the fans. Like, I don't understand why that has become so normalized. Like, I know that having a strong bond in the fandom and having people be like little detectives who are theorizing and who are finding information about the show, I understand that's part of building fandom, but the way it seems now is that leaks are like the primary form of how people engage with the show. It just seems like that whole system is broken to me, and having a reference to like the leaks in the Lux episode, having the fans being like, actually I knew that was gonna happen because it was leaked ahead of time, it's like, okay, I get that, that's funny, but that's also like really bad. Like, isn't that really bad?
Yeah, like you say, it feels like it's a failure on the production's part usually. Like, it's not supposed to be known, and I know it's been a bit overdone with you didn't expect it type of reveal through like Marvel movies. I feel like that has set a standard in people's approach to, is it good or is it bad? But still, I don't feel like my reception of the show right now would be benefited by having spoilers around.
Well, I think it's like you say, that you could make the argument that if your episode doesn't hold up, if you already know the plot points ahead of time, then maybe it's not a very good episode. Like, if the episode only survives on first time shock value, then maybe that's not very good writing. And that's a fair point. I think the problem with that argument is that a TV show is all about novelty, right? Like, seeing an episode for the first time is all about novelty, and
especially Doctor Who.
Yeah, having reveals and having mechanics slowly being introduced, and having like a big reveal about what the villain is, that a lot of the times the episode is really constructed around a mystery, really constructed around setup and payoff in terms of what are the actual mechanics of the story.
I want the story to speak for itself.
Exactly. I think that you could make the absolute opposite argument, that if you have to be spoiled ahead of time in order to get a full experience of the show, then maybe the episode wasn't very good to begin with. Maybe it should just be engaged with how it was written. Because the thing is, every piece of art, if it's good art, right, it's made lovingly with every single component being taken into consideration, being incorporated, and being a full product. And I understand that we're in a media landscape where clickbaity moments or gifable moments or TikTokable moments are what makes a show go around, and what makes things exciting. And having those things leaked ahead of time, or having those things circulating in the fandom, could be a way of marketing a show. I do think, though, that it sort of diminishes the experience overall, and that just because that's the norm, we shouldn't be striving for that type of fandom discussion and for that type of marketing. I mean, both Vendel and I are K-pop fans, and we know what it's like to be be oversaturated with content and to be over catered to, and how effective it can sometimes be to take a step back and be more mysterious and only release complete products instead of 10 billion trailers.
I think that's been a very good lesson, actually, of figuring out when it works to have teasers and content like that.
Exactly. Like, obviously things should be readily available to view. The problem is that watching Doctor Who, it's already behind a paywall. You already have to go out of your way to either get Disney Plus or get BBC iPlayer or find it illegally. And if you already know what's happening, like if you've already been spoiled a week before the episode even airs, I think there's a high risk that fans who aren't dedicated are going to dismiss an episode immediately because they were already spoiled ahead of time that something dumb was going to happen, or that they were going to bring back a villain from 10 seasons ago, and they think that sounds stupid and they won't give something an honest chance. And so that's why I think the leaks are damaging to the ecosystem as a whole.
To be a little bit contrary to the it hurts the fandom as a whole, like, of course I can't know for someone who really likes having these leaks and bonding through fandom in that way. If that is your thing, like, good on you. Like, I don't really care that someone else engages with that, but mostly for me, like, I don't like consuming fandom in that order. I would see the episode like the way it was intended to be consumed, and then I want to go deeper and deeper. I just really like having the novelty of discovering something for the first time, and I think that is also one thing that I strive for with fandom, and that's why I like going about it the other way, where I watch the thing at first, and then when the episode has been released and I know it's what happened in it, that's when I want to engage with whatever was going on behind the scenes, because that is a new insight in something that I didn't know. So that is more novelty. And then I think also because we are very much the type of keep going with the story and fanfictionizing it like back and forth, and like engaging with breakdown videos to learn more about this. Every time I discover a new mechanic, that is what makes Doctor Who great for me. So if someone told me that I had lost all my memories and condolences, like, you lost all your memories, like, I would be like, why are you sad? Like, this is great. I can rewatch my favorite episodes for the first time without knowing what's gonna happen. Like, that is the best feeling ever. I would be putting on Doctor Who from season 1 if I could do that. For sure, like, I just want to consume it the other way around. I wouldn't want the spoilers to be the first thing I engage with, because that is like a good nugget for me to be able to engage with later on. And even so, it can also be interesting to see like what other people were speculating, but I always have a better time if I do it afterwards, because then I don't have my expectations let down, I think.
And I think to that point about speculation and what the fandom is speculating, I think something worthwhile to bring up is that tradition left over from the Super Wholock era, when Stephen Moffat was in charge of both Doctor Who and Sherlock, and it was all about generating mystery and keeping fandom really engaged with analysing episodes, being really close to the material, trying to listen to interviews from set designers and putting together a story that made sense in their head, and then actually being really let down when something is revealed canon on the show. And I think that a problem not only Doctor Who has had, but lots of other types of shows have had, is generating hype for hype's sake, just to keep people involved and to create speculation, and then having the backlash of people being genuinely disappointed when something doesn't turn out the way they wished, or when it just genuinely isn't very good.
I feel like that was the main criticism of the Moffat era, for sure. The worst type of criticism it received.
It was, and I think the problem is that this leak culture and this like overabundance of information we have around the production of the show encourages that fandom behavior, and also encourages misinformation to spread. It encourages wild speculation. I mean, speculating is always fun, like we do it on this podcast too.
I want this podcast to be a safe space for us speculating afterwards.
And also that speculation is based off of, you know, watching the material and trying to imagine what makes sense within what has actually been released and written. I think the problem comes in when you start speculating based on what one costume designer said 5 years ago in an interview. Then it starts becoming unhealthy and also sets up like those 5,000 people who are that invested for disappointment once the reveal has actually been made. And I think that perhaps, like, I'm not sure how to capture an audience's attention in between episodes and in between seasons. That is really difficult, and it's especially difficult in this media landscape when everyone's attention spans are so short and the cultural consciousness shifts so quickly. But on the other hand, I think trying to hack people into being interested by constantly sippering out information and not keeping a tight ship around what gets out about your show, that is not the right way to go about it. I personally think that building up mystique, building up hype by being secretive, and still doing good marketing, still actually promoting your show, promoting trailers, promoting posters, having actors go on interviews and stuff like that is really good. But letting the reputation of the actual content of the episode kind of survive by word of mouth, I think that seems like a better approach. But then again, I'm not a showrunner, I'm not a marketing expert, so I don't actually know. But I really don't like the vibes of where we're at right now.
Yeah, like no matter how many leaks or how much the podcast landscape is formed around consuming the leaks and speculating, I think we're gonna keep watching the show the way we know best. And like, I think creating this podcast is our way to have the fandom feel engaging even between episodes. When we were thinking about starting this podcast, it was kind of a judging of our own morals, like what would we do that is the best for the fandom, and having leaks hasn't been something that we viewed as the solution. So that's like a major reason for us to be sitting here right now doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we want the fandom to be sustained on fandom discussion, not on leaks. And hopefully, like, our mission statement is to spread positive vibes and excitement around the show.
Yeah, and if you're out there and you're thinking that, yeah, I feel like the episodes get worse whenever I know what's gonna happen, but you feel like you have to be consuming the leaks to be a legitimate fan, don't do it. You don't have to.
You don't have to.
Please consume Doctor Who the way you want to consume it. Like, that's the most important takeaway. If you know the best way for you to enjoy the show, like, do it. This show is great. You're giving that to yourself, the chance to watch it with blind eyes, if that is what you prefer.
Because I really think that the era of TV encouraging meticulous note-keeping and theorizing and attention to detailing, that is kind of past. Like, we really had that with shows like Pretty Little Liars, shows like Lost, shows like unfortunately Doctor Who, Sherlock, like smash hit successes from the 2010s that really encouraged people to be glued to the screen and to every single frame, and then kind of shit their pants by the time they were actually meant to reveal something and it kind of was sort of lame or silly or convoluted. I think we're past that, and I think Russell T Davies is an incredibly competent writer who will tease stuff, but he will never claim that you could have solved this mystery by yourself. Like, he teased that all the planets are disappearing, or he'll put Bad Wolf everywhere, but it's literally completely impossible to be able to guess what that will lead to. And I think that's the right way to do it. And I think with Russell T Davies, the way you should engage with his writing is by just sitting back and relaxing and trusting that he will give you the information you need when you need it, rather than obsessively note-keeping and theorizing in between. I think he approaches his mystery box writing in that way instead.
But I don't mind looking stupid like between episodes because I didn't take notes. But I feel like especially Rusty Davies' writing doesn't lend itself to meticulous note-keeping. You have to go into it and trust the process that you're gonna be handed the solution, and it isn't necessarily gonna be something that you could have solved yourself. Like, it's fun to speculate, and when we speculate, I feel like we tend to look a bit dumb sometimes, having theories that doesn't really make sense with it in lore. And I feel like that's more of an exploration of what can we remember of this show. And I don't mind it. I feel like it's fun. It's a way of quizzing ourselves on what do we actually remember, rather than trying to unravel the actual mystery behind it.
Yeah, and you and I tend to be people who keep track of our opinions and our feelings towards the show, rather than keeping track of what actually happens and knowing literally everything about it. Insert a screenshot of our of our Google Sheet. That's how we approach the show.
Sometimes a Doctor Who episode can just be standalone, and sometimes an episode can be helped by being involved in a bigger mystery, but I feel like it's not about how clever the mystery is, it's more about how you set the mystery up and how you execute it. If it's a good watch, then it's a good watch. It doesn't have to be deeper than that.
And I think that a lot of the Doctor Who successes, like a lot of the successful finales that I can think of, are reveals that you couldn't really have guessed, but that still feel clever. Like Professor Yana being "You Are Not Alone," and that being related to the face of Bo. Like nobody would ever have guessed that, but it feels clever when it's revealed. Or for instance, Bad Wolf being something sprayed across the universe as a warning or whatever. That's also like, you could have never guessed what Bad Wolf meant, but it feels cohesive, it feels like everything sits together.
You still get the payoff moment.
Exactly, and I think like now with the Pantheon, having characters saying the one who waits is on his way, and that being Sutek, stuff like that, like you can kind of guess that it might be Sutek, or it might be the Beast, or it might be something like that coming back, but it's actually not really about that. It's just about building anticipation and feeling surprised when it's revealed, not necessarily it being an exam where you have to take every detail into consideration.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of just watching for the character journeys, like as you mentioned with the Professor Yana and the face of Bo. Like I really enjoy watching the show with, like, I watched the show the first time around and it's like, who is the face of Bo? And then when you rewatch it the second time, I only focus on, okay, so how does this connect with the last time I remember seeing Jack Harkness on screen? Like, I like following these character perspectives, and I tend to do that with a lot of TV shows as well. After I've seen it once, I rewatch it to get the, okay, so now that I get the character motivations, how can I see that develop on screen? Like in addition to not consuming leaks, I prefer watching it blind the first time, and then I rewatch it with all the cards on hand, like seeing what that looks like, because I feel like I never get to really have my own authentic experience of what that character is going through if I already know certain things are gonna happen. Because life in Doctor Who, we're like, oh, it's not linear, it's wibbly wobbly, but like life experiences are very linear, like people's emotions are very linear. So
actually trying to watch the show from the point of view of the characters and not from the point of view of what are the plot reveals going to be, it enhances the experience significantly. Personally, I wasn't a big fan the first time around of the finale of season 1 or series 14, but I recently rewatched Rogue and then those 2 finale episodes, and then also Joy to the World all in one big stretch, and I had a really good time because I was focusing mostly on the Doctor's characterization. Like Ncuti Gat was acting him going from saying goodbye to someone he fell in love with, and then saying goodbye to his best friend who he loves, and then being super lonely, finding another friend, having to say goodbye to them again. Having that character journey and seeing how that has impacted his characterization in this season going on now was so rewarding, and focusing on that instead of focusing on the Sutek reveal and the Pantheon and the da-da-da-da-da-da, which is often what's floating around in your head the first time you watch something. It was actually really, really nice, and it made me kind of reconsider how I've been approaching the show previously, which has very much been from the perspective of trying to understand the plot or trying to come up with what the reveal is going to be. And I know that in the previous episode that we actually filmed earlier today, we talk a lot about our theories and a lot about what we think is going to happen in the end. Like, it's inevitable, but I also think that there's so much rich writing in Doctor Who, and there's so much that goes into the show that you can appreciate that is often missed if the only thing you're talking about is who's the next villain gonna be.
For this podcast, we're gonna be the annoying fans here, take these lofty goals of rewatching the New Who era to fully understand what's going on. We're going to have this very overkill approach, but I feel like the payoff in doing that is always so rewarding. I feel like there is room for something like that on here. So
yeah, and the content that we're going to be making is probably rewatching the entire season and remaking our opinions over and over again, because we really care about the longevity of episodes, how the rewatches feel, how our second reaction compared to our first reaction, how it feels watching the entire season put together. Like, I'm personally a big fan of watching stretches of the show and just seeing how things develop from episode to episode, and then sometimes we like scrambling things up as well, so expect that kind of content on this podcast rather than discussions of leaks.
When we seem a bit out of the loop, that's why, and whatever discussion is going on is truly a mystery to us, so we thought it might be a good thing for us to sit down and address why we're oblivious to whatever is going on.
I just wanted to wrap up with a continuation on Vendela's earlier point, which is that if this is how you like to consume Doctor Who, then that's obviously perfectly fine. We personally aren't super jazzed about that being like the standard operation in the fandom, but that doesn't mean that we are trying to criticize any specific creator, or
We're by no means an authority on how you should consume media.
Definitely not. And we thought that it would be nice to just film a short little episode where we discuss this point, just so that people understand why we might be out of the loop, or why we won't be discussing spoilers or leaks in the future, just because we're simply not interested. But obviously, if you like that, if you like the fact that things are being leaked and that you can speculate and all of that stuff, that's perfectly fine, and we understand that part of what makes a fandom strong is having a lot of content to discuss all the time, and leaks feel special and unique and novel and exciting to talk about. We totally get that. So we're not trying to comfort anyone or try to make you feel like a lesser fan for engaging with the show in a certain way. We just thought that we should represent the people who don't like that. You know what I mean? Like, this is how we watch the show.
If you're the type of fan who avoids spoilers at all costs, this is a safe space for you, and I think you should subscribe.
This is the podcast for you. We'll be going and making repairs on the station, because we just noticed that some of the sections have once again been sucked into the black hole, and we need to find a new place to store our beds and our food, because we just lost everything. So we'll be working on that, and we'll see you next time there's an episode, or next time we want to drop a hot take.
Clickbait.
Start controversy in the fandom.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say that on YouTube.
I feel like I've said shit a lot so far. I was starting to speak because I had a thought, but it ran away.
I said obsessively note-keeping.
Oh, yeah, wait. Jag försöker säga det på svenska, det funkar inte.
Vi har filmat i 35 minuter. Har du någon concluding thought?
Jag tror jag hade typ en
Så
tanke. Jag kommer inte på vad det var.
Jag precis sa var typ kolla om på avsnitten från olika perspektiv. Typ perspektivet från characterization, character development.
Ska jag försöka säga det lite sammanfattat också? Så här, det här är som mot slutet av videon.